Hello. Good evening. Good evening. Let me turn this down. Good evening. Hello, 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 and good evening. It is Tuesday Night Live. Tuesday Night Live. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. Hello, hello, hello. It's so hard to. Okay, let me get this hair together. How is everyone doing this evening? Hope you are doing great. I am doing great. It is a terrific Tuesday. Terrific Tuesday. Hello, hello, hello. I'm going to wait a little bit, give everybody a chance to come in. I see those hearts. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And I'm going to ask you to please smash down on that like button. Everybody smash down on that like button. Give me a like. Give me a like. It's absolutely free. Did you have a good Tuesday? What did you do today? What made your Tuesday terrific today? Or maybe it wasn't so terrific. What'd you get into today? I did not leave my house today, and I like that. Sometimes I really enjoy being able to stay at home, not actually even go out. Today was one of those days. I worked from home today, but I didn't have to go out. So I enjoyed that. How about you? What did you get into today? Drop it in the comments. Also, and like as I said, I'm going to keep reminding you every once in a while to give us a like, smash down on that like. Let me know what you did on your terrific Tuesday, what made your day terrific or maybe not so terrific, and tell me where you're watching from. Okay, I think I got all of the hellos out of the way. Welcome. It's time for another Tuesday Night Live, and I am ready. I've got some really good stuff for you. I've got the cruise news for you. I've got updates for you. I am ready. We got an hour packed full of info, fun, Q&A. It's time to go. I'm going to start it off by letting you know, I think I told you last week, I went to the State Fair of Texas. I actually had no plans to go this year. But my office gave us, they were very, very nice and gave us free tickets. So we went to the state fair and it was hot. I was like, okay, Texas sun, you win. I give up. I give up. Do I put my hands up or do I tap or what do I do? You win. I wasn't there probably 20 minutes before the sweat was just running and I had my fan. I was prepared. I had everything prepared to beat the sun, except it was beaming. So there were some things that we were obligated to do for the job. We had to all wear our job t-shirt. Well, it's not a t-shirt, our shirts with our logo. And then we were all going to gather around Big Tex and take a picture, which every other group of people was doing the same thing. It was very crowded around Big Tex, which it always is. That's the headliner, he's standing up there, I don't know, 70, 80, 112 feet tall. So we all got together in our shirts and we posed out in the blazing sun because there was no cover right there where Big Tex is. And our CEO got in the picture and got the pictures. And then she said, leave. And I was like, oh, I could go. I was actually thinking we could leave now, but no, that would not have been fun to just take the picture and go. They even gave us free coupons for food. So we walked around and we saw some sights. I did not ride any rides. As a matter of fact, I didn't even go over to the section where the rides were. I didn't even see the rides. I didn't go anywhere near the rides. We walked around. We looked at all of the different foods, the wild combos of food. What is the wildest? I don't know. Do you go to your state fair? If you go to your state fair, drop it down in the comments. What is like the wildest food combo drink? Because they have wild drinks too that you've ever seen. I mean, you see them at the state fair. I mean, I guess that's where they pull out all the stops. There were some wild foods there. So we took a look and videoed all of those, and then we decided to taste our own food. We sat down in an area, we ate some food, and then we were like, let's make our way over to the exit. We didn't quite leave yet. We still looked at some of the sites. But the thing that we did that we have never done before, we went to a magic show at the state fair, and it was good. I truthfully am not like a magic show fan. hate them or anything, but if you would be like, "Hey, I have these tickets to a magic show. You want to go?" I might be like, "No." But this magic show was good, and it was in a enclosed place that was not had air conditioning, and there was no sun. So we said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we went to this magic show, and it was so cute. Let me tell you a couple of things that I liked about it. It was not your traditional magic show, and that thrilled me. Okay. First of all, there were two people, the gentleman who was the main magician, and then the lady who was the helper, and they were older. So I love that right off straight off the bat. I would say they were at least in their 40s, I would say. Older. I love that. And she was older, but she was so beautifully done and so thin, which she had to be because she kept folding herself up like a pretzel into these boxes and suitcases. And it was great. So that was a lot of fun to see that. And we were very close. It wasn't a large theater. Maybe 150, 200 people could get in there. And we were right up in the front. So it was so cool to be like this close and a person disappear in your face. You're like, where is she? She was just right there on stage. Where did she go? So here's the other thing that was so much fun. My granddaughter. So I had four of my grandkids with me. And he said, all right, can I have a member of the audience to help me out? And all the kids in there, me. And he said, listen, this person has to be very brave. And my granddaughter's like, let me think about it. She is 8. She's 8. So she raised her hand with all of her bravado, and she's like, me. And he picked her. He's like, come on, Anaya, come on up here. So she's just smiling, and she's up there, syrupy sweet. What's your name? Anaya. Just, sweet as chocolate candy, right? And she does the magic trick. So this is what they do. They put her in a box and cut her. Okay, so they teach her how to lay back in this box, and they lay her in this box, and her hands stick out at the top, and he's like, wiggle your hands, Anaya. And then her feet stick out at the bottom. He's like, wiggle your feet, Anaya. But she's in this box. And then they take these 2 long blades, right? And they one down here and one down there. And her mother was on the side of me. She was just as tense as a bowstring, right? She was just, I could see it. And, they say, wiggle your hands, Anaya. And she's just looking at us smiling. And we're all sitting up there like, how is she doing this? It was so cute. And then, she came out of the box. Everybody clapped. It was so adorable. And then she came and sat down next to me. And I saw her. This was the cute thing. I saw her take a look at her stomach just to make sure it was still there. So we did that magic show. Lots of fun. I highly recommend it. I followed them on social media. Don't remember the name now. Sorry. But if you were there at the State Fair of Texas and you saw that magic show, let me know. It was adorable. And then there was another magic show right after that one. We didn't stay for that one, but we had never sat down and did the magic shows before. We've gone to the car shows and a bunch of other kind of things, but the magic show was a hit. So we did that last week. It was a lot of fun, but super hot. We didn't stay. We weren't there 2.5 hours. I couldn't handle it. That heat, but I did have a lot of fun, and I was very grateful to my job for that. So I wanted to tell you about the State Fair before I jump into some of the cruise news. I have a main headliner about the cruise news tonight that I am ready to share because it made me wonder. It made me wonder the whole time. It's that story about the little girl on the Disney cruise ship that fell off. And my daughter was like, Mom, see, that's why I'm not really sure about taking my kids on a cruise, and Disney should be safer, maybe even than other cruise ships. It's going to have a whole bunch of kids, and how could that happen? And I was thinking, how could that happen? How could that happen? Because we as cruisers know that's an outlier. I know we hear on news stuff like that. We hear this person jumped off or fell off the ship, and this fight and this. We don't hear the millions of people who are on the cruise every day, and it goes just smooth. We hear about the 5 or 6 people who fought, fell off, or did something wacky or wild, a brawl or whatever. Okay. But those are really outliers. The cruise lines don't get money and don't garner any confidence by having unsafe ships where you just fall off. So I kept thinking, how did that happen? What happened? Well, we found out today. I'm going to share it with you. But let me move on first to a couple of questions for you because I love to do this. And this is some good engagement because I want to get some feedback. How about the people that we can't stand on cruise ships? I'm talking about the 13 people that we don't like that we seem to encounter on every cruise ship. Do you know who they are? Are you one of them? Maybe sometimes. I'm going to tell you about the 13 people. Can you guess who those people are? Do you have any guesses? Drop it down in the comments. Let me tell you who number one is, and then we're going to jump to a cruise story. Number one is the chair hog. And I'm reading this because I have my notes. The chair hog. You know what I'm talking about. I'm going to read what it says. They wake up at dawn to reserve poolside loungers with towels, books, flip-flops, hats. Then they vanish for hours. Good luck finding a seat in the sun for the rest of us. They get up 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, go down there with their little jacket, throw it on the lounger, and head out. But that lounger is supposed to be reserved for them for however long it takes, the next 4 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, whatever, until they come back. We don't like you. We don't like you. We're going to say ugly stuff about you. Don't do that. But they do it on every cruise. That's one of those. I've got 13 of them we're going to talk about. But let's talk about some cruise news. I want to talk to you about Guy Fieri. If you are a Carnival cruiser, you're going to know what I'm talking about. Guy Fieri, he is the very flamboyant chef who makes those wonderful burgers there at Guy's Burger Joint. He is the unofficial or maybe the official mayor of Flavortown. You know what I'm talking about. If you've been on a Carnival cruise, you know what I'm talking about. We all look forward to it. Guy's Burgers, right? Hands down the best burgers. We all, know that they're full of calories and all that good stuff and can't wait to get to them. Ready. Because they're wonderful. They're great. The headline says that 10 million Guy Fieri burgers are not enough. We want more. So the information that's been coming to John Heald, which is the Carnival Cruise Line ambassador, and the information that we put on those surveys at the end of our cruise, and information that's sent out over Reddit and all the other social media sources from people who travel on Carnival, they're saying, I want Guy's Burgers more. You're not open enough. Why can't you be open 24 hours? We need Guy's 24 hours. And I like that idea. I don't necessarily think I need a Guy's Burger at 7 in the morning or 4 in the morning, but some people do. It says that people are demanding that Guy's Burgers stay open 24 hours. And so they've been writing to the brand ambassadors, say, can you help us out with that? We love the burgers. It's a hit. Why are you only open certain hours? And I'm looking to see, okay, they're usually open from 12:30 in the afternoon to 6:30 p.m. So it's not a long time that they're open, right? But John Heald said, sorry, you better find another one of our venues to eat, like some pizza, because we're not going to be open 24 hours. They just can't do it. He said, we only have a certain number of crew, and we do not have the crew to open something like this 24 hours. Yeah. Plus, it has to be thoroughly cleaned and sanitized and restocked in between every eating. They just do not have the manpower to keep Guy's Burgers open for 24 hours. So he also said, we have 24-hour room service, but as we all know now, that part that used to be free, it's not. So no, thank you. But if you are looking for one of those delicious Guy's Burgers, 24 hours, keep looking, because they have no plans to do that. They just said that they just don't have the manpower to have a Guy's Burgers open 24 hours. But I thought it was kind of funny that people are like reaching out for it. They're demanding it. They're asking for Guy's Burgers. I understand. I like me a Guy's Burger. I think there's not been a Carnival cruise that I've been on since I knew about them that I haven't had one. So yeah, they're pretty good, but sorry, no Guy's Burgers open 24 hours. That's one of our first cruise news stories. Let me tell you, let me ask you this. Are you a Guy's Burger enthusiast, a fan? Even my mom has a very healthy diet, and burgers would not be something that she eats. Even my mom is like, why don't we go get one of those burgers? And we're like, okay, yeah. People like them. I like them. Are you a Guy's Burger fan? Let me know. Drop it down in the comments. All right. Number two, the people that we don't like on the cruise. Hmm. The buffet bulldozer. What do I mean? They have no concept of a line. They have no patience and they absolutely have no shame. We met one on our last cruise. They'll elbow past you for the last crab leg like it's a Black Friday sale. You know, they stand too close to you, they reach over you. The buffet bulldozer. Are you one of those? Here's the story on our last cruise. It was on the Jubilee. It was on the Jubilee. And the line, we went into the line to get omelets. So it was breakfast time, I think. We wanted an omelet. And there were two sides, right? And we went to this one side and we saw them pulling like a cone up and it was closing. You could tell that they were trying to shut this line down. So they pulled this cone thing up and one of the workers stood there and she was just standing there. And as we came up, we said, "Is it still open?" And she's like, "Yes, no problem, but we're closing after you." Okay. So we all got in line and this gentleman comes up right behind us and she's standing behind us as the next person, and he gets there and she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. The line is closed. We're closing this line. There's another one on the other side." You would have thought that she told that man, "I hate you, you're ugly, and you stink." He was so rude to her. He was so rude and loud. I can't stand here. Why can't I stand here? Why, I paid my money. You're so rude." And then he tells her that she's rude. And you could just see the look on her face. We felt so bad for her. And then he's like, "You're so rude. I can stand here if I want to. You can tell me, where's your manager?" And we were like, "We'll defend her. If the manager comes up and like reprimands her, we'll tell him she was not rude." But she kind of looked like, "I can't even deal with this." She just was like, well, she looked for her manager and the manager came over and she's like, and she walked off. Poor thing. And the manager was like, they bowed down. They're like, "Go ahead, sir." Then he did explain, "Sir, we don't want to be rude to you, but we do have to change shifts. We're very sorry. We do have to shut the line down, but you, sir, go right ahead. But I do have to stand here and close it, sir. We don't mean to be rude to, our guests." And she was not rude. So that's the buffet bulldozer. Don't be one of those. That's not nice. Don't be one. All right. Have you smashed down on that like button? Yeah. Do me another favor and tap down on those hearts, those likes. And I have a goal, and I don't know if you see that in my chat. Super thanks, super likes. Those are ways of monetarily supporting the channel by tapping down on those. I see those hearts. Thank you so much. If you are interested in supporting the channel that way, we would love it. Super like, super chat, super thanks. All right, let's move on to the next story over here because I have a bunch. Let's talk about bad behavior. Remember when I said earlier, the headlines for news for cruises most of the time have nothing to do with all the good stuff going on in cruising. It's all the sensational headlines, this brawl with 20 people, or this person fell off the cruise ship. Well, unfortunately, I have to share with you cruise news about bad behavior. And now I understand why the cruise lines have the rules that they do about youngsters. So the whole gist of this is there have been two teenagers caught hanging off the balcony. And when I say hanging off, I don't mean like the balcony's here and they're leaning over looking. I mean they're standing on the 6.5-foot railing, hanging on to the balcony. After the live, go check out the videos. I didn't bring a video down. They got caught. They got busted. And people do the dumbest crap and then they post it on their Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. Hey, thanks. There used to be a show, I don't know if it's still on, called The Dumbest Criminals. Do something silly and then show the world. Anyway, let me get back to this. It says teenagers caught climbing cruise ship balcony in a shocking video. A TikToker captured two teenagers standing on the balcony railing attached to their cruise cabins, which is extremely dangerous. This is how half of the fell off the cruise ships happen. It says here that people in the cruise community think that the teens and their parents or their guardians should be punished or banned. What do you think? Should be punished or banned. Dangerous behavior like this is definitely enough to have you lose your guest privileges or have you be banned for life. Yeah. Some people actually said they should shut down balconies. We shouldn't have balconies for this very reason. Now, I would never go to that length. You don't punish the whole world for a few bad apples. You just enforce the rules. Rules are put out there and then they need to be enforced. And one way of enforcing them is when you catch somebody breaking the rules, you ban them. My thought. What do you think? So here's what happened. It shows two teenage boys, this video, climbing on the railing of their cruise cabin's balcony and inching along the top of it to a neighboring balcony. So they're, walking across on a tightrope on the balcony. When we were young, and maybe you're still young, you're invincible. You're going to live forever. You just, and the concept of consequences is so foreign. You don't think of the consequence. You're like, well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. It's kind of, as you mature up, you start to kind of think of, well, what would the consequence be? You don't, maybe that's not such a good idea. I'm so glad that they didn't get hurt. I really am. I'm glad that this is just a story of bad behavior instead of a story of two teens falling off of a cruise ship. But one of the guys and it's two young men, put themselves in a particularly precarious position when that says he can be seen leaning over the open ocean as he holds on to the bottom of the balcony above for support, just leaning. One thing we don't know for sure is which cruise ship this was, but from the looks of it, people are putting two and two together, and it looks like it was Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas. It seems like their balconies and the look of it is like from that Oasis class type of ship. Now, this stunt is incredibly dangerous. One little misstep, one little oops, and it could have been a whole different story to discuss with you tonight. It says the boys, oh gosh, on their feet, I'm reading this, they had on like flip-flops or sandals. Not even sneakers or something, They could have fallen into the ocean, or not just the ocean, they could have fallen down into the lower decks or even fallen back onto their own balcony. All of those are dangerous, could have been life-threatening. So many times when people fall off balconies, they don't make it. They fall into the ocean, they don't make it. Yeah. So this article gives us the reason why Carnival and Royal, they have regulations that you can't be in a cruise cabin by yourself if you're not 21. There was a recent couple who wanted to cause a ruckus. They were upset. They had just gotten married and they had booked themselves a cruise, and the cruise line said, sorry, no, because they weren't 21 yet. And they're like, we're a married couple. Are you telling us we can't cruise with you without an adult being in our room? No. And the cruise line was like, that's exactly what we're telling you. And it seems harsh and it seems ridiculous and punitive until you hear a story like this. 21. It's required on Royal Caribbean that minors staying in the same room as an adult over the age of 21. They can't stay by themselves. Carnival Cruise Line does not allow guests to stay in a balcony cabin without a guardian until they're 21. And I think Royal, the majority of them are that age. And now you see why. You're thinking, well, 18 will not. And we don't know how young these boys are. It says teenagers. That's the guess, right? The best guess. But that's what they were doing. What do you think? If you had seen them, like let's say you were next to them on the balcony and you had seen these two guys doing their thing, having their fun, being daredevils, whatever, would you have spoken to them directly and said, hey, stop doing that. Guys, get down. You shouldn't do that. Would you have called security, or would you have completely ignored them and just been like, oh gosh, what would you have done in that situation? I'm interested to know. I'm interested to know myself what I would have done. I know what I think I might have done. What would you do? Because sometimes now you say something and you're the bad guy. Once again, I am very glad that this was just caught showing some bad behavior and they were not hurt, or they did not hurt anyone else. But a word of warning, a word of caution. If you're going with teenagers and youngsters, you got to keep your eye on them. We've talked about this in many of my other cruise news stories, you can't let your guard down so much. We're on vacation and we're there to relax and recharge and have a great time, but you got to have the talks with them beforehand. My mom used to have the talk with us. Don't ask me to buy you this. I'm not buying. You need to have a talk with your kids beforehand. Set the rules, set the expectations, and then you got to keep an eye on them. I think I told you about the little girl we saw at our last cruise. She had to be 6 or 7, maybe 8, and she was at the deck 18, which is where all of the waterworks and the slides and all that. And she was completely by herself, just laying out, talking to strangers. And, oh, I've been here all day. I've had so much fun. And we were just like, where are your parents? And of course, like kids do. Oh, my mom sleeps. She's always sleeps. She never comes out of the room. Oh, gosh. My mom was so worried about her. You have to watch those little ones and maybe even the big ones, because these guys were not little. Yeah. Grateful they did not get hurt. All right. Let me tell you about the third. No. Yeah. I told you about the buffet bulldozer. And then I told you about the what was the first one? It's not moving. My thing is stuck. The chair hog. Okay. Chair hog. All right. The next one is the loud talker. It's not so. Yeah. Let me read it. Whether it's on the phone, that's the one that gets on my nerve. In the hallway or during a quiet dinner, their voice is always set to megaphone. Bonus points if they're sharing too much information about their cruise romance. Yuck. The ones that get me are the ones that are on the phone. I don't know if they're trying to show off or what, but who doesn't have a phone? Shut up. You and whoever you're talking to is the only two that need to hear that. Why are you so doggone loud? You're just looking at them like, don't be that person, loud talker. We don't like that. At the end of the live today, I've done a video about it, the secret hidden cruise language that the staff on cruise ships use, their secret hidden words to signify danger or instances going on the cruise ship. And I'm going to talk to you about that. I do suggest that you take a look at my video, the secret codes. I think it's the 21 secret codes that cruise ships use. Because if you hear those, you will know what's going on. They don't want to alarm all of their guests. So they have this hidden language that they use certain codes, and it might be a man overboard situation, a fire, a bomb threat. We're going to share those at the end as well. Don't forget to smash down on that like button and share this. Share this out with anybody you think might be interested in cruising, cruise news, travel. I would love for them to be a part of the family. Have you subscribed? Please do subscribe. I don't know if you noticed, but you can only make comments if you are a subscriber, and I would love for you to be a subscriber, part of our family. And I do have a question. I had a group cruise set up on the Carnival Jubilee a year and a half ago, and it didn't happen. Things changed. They switched the dates out. They canceled. But it is time for us to put together another group cruise. And I would love to get some feedback on which ship and what location and what time of year you would like to go. Because right now, everything is fluid. I have not made any particular plans with my travel agency. We get lots of deals first, and there's a lot coming out in 2026 that I can grab. And as the travel advisor, I can grab a chunk of cabins, 20 cabins or 25 cabins, and lock in a low price now for a cruise in 26 or 27. So I would love to have you, first of all, as part of the Right Recipe for Travel family. So please do subscribe. And I would love to have you on our group cruise. So let me know, is there a ship in particular, a location, or a time frame that would work very well for you to join us on our group cruise? All right. Let me go back to this. I want to talk to you now about Princess Cruise Lines and Norwegian Cruise Lines. Let me give you some information on that. Princess has made a big change, and people are not liking it. Yeah, it's about the reservations, the way that you make a reservation. So, and Princess was one of the holdouts, truthfully. When you make a reservation on most cruise lines, you have a certain time frame that you have to pay your deposit. And usually now those deposits are non-refundable unless you pay a higher price. So for example, you make your cruise deposit for 2, and it's $150 per person to hold that cruise. and that's non-refundable for the type of cabin that you've booked. But if you want it to be refundable, it would be a higher price for your cruise. Maybe it would be 300 or so dollars more, but it would be non-refundable up to a certain time frame, 30 days before, 60 days before. Well, that's about to go away. Let me read to you what we have here. Princess Cruise was one of the few lines that still offered non-refundable deposits by default, but that's no longer the case, and that went into effect on October 15th. Yeah, it says Norwegian has also made a series of dining policy changes as well. We're going to talk about Norwegian. Well, actually, I think we did talk about it last week, but we're going to talk about another Norwegian change at the end of this. Princess Cruises deposit policy change that went into effect on October 15th. Now it's default that you have to pay your deposit, and it defaults to non-refundable. Yeah. I want to see what's the time, because I don't know the exact time frame. It doesn't give us a time frame, but the minute now that you have to put your deposit down, usually they give you 24 hours, 48 hours, like you can hold the cruise, but then 24 or 48 hours later, you have to book it with a deposit, and that deposit on Princess will be non-refundable. Now, for some, that doesn't even make a difference, but for others, it's a big deal, right? Because you had a little bit of grace. They're just trying to make sure that the plans don't change, because cruise lines, and we've talked about this in other lives and other videos, they hold a certain amount of berths, and they decide how many rooms are left based on their people who have made the deposits, who have booked those ships. So they need to know that those 2 rooms are booked, and people would much more easily get out of it, or come back later and say, oh, I'm not going to do it, if they could easily get their money back. Having that additional step of you not getting your money back might make you think twice before you cancel. Now, if you have to cancel, you do, because things happen all the time. But that's the new policy change, went into effect October 15th for Princess Cruise Lines. So any reservations before that was still the old policy. October 15th and on is this new policy. So not so great. And with Norwegian, they have decided to no longer give the paper daily planner. Let me see what the name of theirs is on Norwegian. It says here Norwegian has gone paperless, and that has gone into effect on October 15th. It's called Freestyle Daily. The little planner, they would sometimes put it under your door or stick it on whatever is by your door, and it gives you all of the activities that will be going on for that day of the cruise ship. They usually put it in there, or your room stewards put it on your bed the night before, so that you have this planner that you can look at and determine all the things that were going on, your food, your dining, your activities. And it said, no more of that, we're going paperless. So that means you got to pick up your phone and look at the app. Yeah, they say this is due to waste, managing waste, and being, not having so much printing going on, saving them money, paper cuts, not that kind of paper cut, but cutting back on using so much paper. That's why they're doing this. Good news for the planet? I don't know. What do you think? Do you use those paper ones? I still do. I actually like those. Take them with me, fold it up sometime, put it in my little backpack. We're walking around the ship, I'll pull it out and look. But I don't see many people doing that. That's probably a thing going by the wayside. People just grab their phone. It's like you have to have your phone now on a cruise anyway. So just pick up your phone. It's close by. It's in your hand, and go onto the app and scroll through and look and see. And on the app, you can click on things, and it'll highlight it or give you, notice when the thing that you said you wanted to go to is about to happen. So I know a lot of people don't use the paper ones anymore, but yeah. Now there will still be a few, because everyone is not tech savvy, and believe it or not, everyone does not have their phone with them or have a smartphone. So they will have a few of the paper copies available that you can get at guest services. Yep. There we go. I'm going to take a sip of water when I transition over to tell you that next person that we don't like seeing on the cruise ship. Can you guess? All right. Oh, yeah. The elevator blocker. You know, I see younger people do this more, and drunk people. Because on a lot of the cruises I go on, there are a lot of people in wheelchairs, walkers, mobility devices, and you just know, my gosh, that they need to come on and come off first. But I see the kids and younger people and people who are drunk trying to bulldoze their way in. But the elevator blocker, it says they stand directly in front of the doors, refuse to let people out, and somehow always press the wrong button. Don't be an elevator blocker. Use proper etiquette and let the people come out first of the elevator. And then if there's someone in a mobility device, you know, let them go on. You can hang out a little bit longer. Yeah, don't be the elevator blocker. I have plenty of stories about so one story. We were getting on a cruise. I don't even remember which cruise line, which cruise ship it was, but it was early in the morning. I think we were headed to breakfast. So it was like before, you know, in between the hours of like 8:30 to 9:30, something like that in the morning. And there was this couple, we think they were a couple. It was a guy and a girl, I don't know. And they were standing there and she was kind of in front of the elevator doors and we just kind of looked and okay. Um, and she was kind of swaying. So I was like, oh, and I looked at her and she just looked. I thought that she was a special needs person, put it that way. And I hope I haven't offended anybody by saying that. I hope that's the right terminology. And we stepped aside to let her and her companion get on the elevator. And when she stepped into the elevator, she said, just one more drink. And we were like, oh, she is special needs. I can't even understand her. And then when her companion said what he said, we realized she's drunk. She's slurring her words. What she had said was just one more drink. She had said, if they give me just one more drink, she never finished it, but that girl was so drunk. She couldn't stand up straight. She couldn't speak straight. And my sister kind of looked at her watch like at this time of the morning. And I'm like, Tibbet, she might not have ever, you know, that could still be the drunk from last night. Who knows? Yeah. But drunks are people who have had way too much to drink, and youngsters, they're more notorious for being elevator blockers than anybody else. But don't be an elevator blocker. And if you have a story about one, throw it in the comments. I'd love to read it. All right. So this next story I'm going to share with you could be political, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that. My channel is not a political channel. I don't want to hear your views. I'm not sharing mine. I don't want to hear yours about all that. It's not that. But it has to do with that because it has to do with China and cruising. So let me tell you this story. It says the first U.S. cruise ship pivots after China introduces new port fees. We all know what's going on in the world with these tariffs and fees that are going on that have been levied on China, right? China said, all right, we're going to do it too. So China has been levying these fees now on cruise ships, especially those from the U.S. Let me give you the story. In response to actions taken by the U.S., China has enacted new port fees for vessels connected to the U.S., which includes cruise ships. The new charge is 400 yuan, which is equivalent to $56 for us, but it's per net ton. And of course, since I don't know what that equals, that didn't make me gasp or anything, but let me tell you what that equals. And then the price will grow to 1,120 yuan, which is equivalent to $157 for us by April of 2028. And I'm going to give you the figures so that you can understand what that means. So far, Oceania Cruises Riviera canceled its call on Shanghai to avoid the fees because this Oceania, which is a ultra luxury cruise ship, was headed to Shanghai. They canceled it. They said there's no way that they can pay that. Now there is another cruise ship owned by Royal Caribbean, and it's the Spectrum of the Seas that's home ported right there in China. Well, they gave them a pass. They gave them a waiver. But if they take that waiver away, Royal's leaving, and you'll see. Says in response to U.S. charging new port fees for Chinese ships, China has enacted its own special port fees starting October 14th. So today is the 21st. It has already been in place. And I gave you the dollar figure of how much that they are going to be charging us. So this is a lot. Now, cruise lines, these fees come in all the time. And a lot of times they just pass it on to the consumer. But how much that these fees are would be, you couldn't pass it on to the consumer. This wouldn't work. This wouldn't work. Let me get down to, okay, the money. So according to Chinese outlet, and I don't know how to say this, Caxian, according to this Chinese outlet, it says that luxury cruise line Oceania would have to pay more than, now get this, $1.6 million in fees for their ship. And their ship is 66,172 gross tons. Mega ships are like double that and more. Let me say it again. The fee would be 1.6 million if Oceania had went in. Right. So the cruise line said, nope, sorry, they just rerouted to somewhere else, and they're going to go to South Korea instead. Told their passengers, we're very sorry. Yeah. So just imagine how much Spectrum of the Seas, if this waiver is taken away, would have to pay in this fee. You don't have to imagine. I'm going to tell you the number, $26 million. Based on the gross tonnage of Spectrum, which is 169,379 gross tons, they would owe China 26 million in fees. So you see what I mean? They couldn't pass it on. They would never do something like this. So China is making their stance very, very clear. So what does all of this mean? It probably means that cruise ships from the US won't be going into China. Now, unless they receive this waiver, unless something political changes and happens and people shake hands and sing kumbaya, these fees are outrageous. Do you have a cruise plan that would go to China anytime soon? You might be getting some information from the cruise lines coming to you via email or something saying there's a slight change of plans, because I can't see any cruise line paying for this. I can't see it. Now, like I said, the Spectrum of the Seas right now, they have a waiver, but all of these other ships, and there are some scheduled to go to China. Navigator of the Seas is one, the Celebrity Millennium and the Celebrity Solstice. Those are some. There's a Holland America ship scheduled to go there. We're going to have to see how this pans out, because those fees are exorbitant, and that's the price now. And remember, I said they're planning to triple, more than triple, by 2028. So just be on the lookout. If you have any cruise planned, that could be a bucket list for many, going to China. What's happening right now? Once again, yeah, be aware. You don't have to like it, but if you know, then you can do something about it, right? That's what I'll say to that one. All right, let me tell you another one of these people we don't like seeing on the cruise, but we run into them every time. The party animal. I'm going to give you two. I'm looking at time. They treat the cruise like a frat party. Loud music, endless drinks, and zero awareness of quiet hours. You'll hear them stumbling back to their cabin at 3 a.m. Now, listen, we all go and want to have our own kind of party, right? We are all there to enjoy the cruise to the maximum for us. But like you say, it's those obnoxious people. They're just obnoxious. They're loud and silly and obnoxious. Yeah, they're party animals. On our Enchanted Princess cruise, there is a little thing that they have in one of the bars where you sit down and they take you on a tour around the world based on the liquor. And then if you'd like to, you can be your own mixologist. They come up and they teach you how to mix the drink, right? And it's a fun little vibe. We sat there in the bar watching people, you'd look at a video and the video would be in Venezuela or Puerto Rico or wherever, and the special drink from that area, and they would teach you all about it. And then they would be like, okay, who wants to get this drink? And I will. And they make it, and it's all this fanfare. And it was very interesting. And so these two gentlemen come in who obviously are party animals, and they look like they could have been in a frat. And they were just loud and silly, and we all just, yeah. But then they kept getting louder and sillier, and one of them decided he was going to go back behind the bar and join the staff, and that's a no-no. And I saw Princess immediately like back up, because at that time all of the bartenders back there were women, and these were pretty big guys, and they were clearly drunk. And they stopped them with that immediately, like, no, back up, get from behind here now. The security came, and they paused that nonsense. But that kind of stuff, just obnoxious. Don't be that person. Have a great time, but just, I have never been drunk in my life, and I've never wanted to be, because I never wanted to just lose all my senses. Just, I didn't like not know what I'm saying, not know what I'm doing. I don't want to have like that control taken away. I want to still be able to like know what I'm doing, and wake up the next day and it's all cool. And I'm not saying anything if that's your thing, but I don't want to be that far gone, that I don't even know what I'm saying, what I'm doing. That's scary to me. Yeah. And these guys were like far gone. So don't go that far in your party, please. The next one is the rule breaker. No smoking, they'll light up. Dress code, they'll show up in flip-flops and a tank top. Safety drill, they're too cool to attend. Any of the rules that are there, they're not doing it. Don't tell me what to do. I know it said go left, that's why I'm going right. Some people just want to be antagonistic. They just want to do the opposite. It's like, no, you can't make me the rule breaker. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. Let me switch over to the next cruise news story. And this is about a very unfortunate thing that I hate to report on, but this is cruise news. It's the 10-hour search called off after overboard on Norwegian Jewel. So if you had not heard, there was a man overboard on the Norwegian Jewel, and they turned around. It was overnight, and looked for the person. A 10-hour delay, turning around and trying to find the person. Let me tell you the story. It says Norwegian Jewel entered a search and rescue mode after a person went overboard in the early morning hours on October 21st. The ship is 93,502 gross tons, and it circled for more than 10 hours, approximately 188 miles off the Azores, with crew members and nearby cargo ships assisting in the search. Despite extensive efforts, the search was unsuccessful, and the ship has since resumed its transatlantic voyage to Miami. This happened about 2 a.m. on October 21st, and it said passengers woke up hearing the blare over the intercom system of Code Oscar. And I'm going to tell you, man overboard, what that is. The captain says, we have just in the last 10 minutes had an announcement to confirm someone is overboard, and that is why we have been circling and still are circling. Yeah. Right now, this voyage is on a 12-night repositioning voyage. It left Barcelona, and then it's headed to Miami. We don't have information about who went overboard, what happened, why. We just know that a passenger. We don't know if it's male or female, anything like that. So this is terribly unfortunate, because as I said, they circled for 10 hours and then they have continued on. So this is so sad. We don't know much more right now. This story just happened. But our hearts and our prayers go out to, the family and onlookers or anybody all affected by this. It's so sad. You just don't know. You never know what's going on. But I did want to report on that. If you have a loved one that is on that ship, what happened, what's going on, very sad to report. All right. We're going to talk about the next couple of people. I'm going to move it up a little bit. We have the complainer. The complainer. Nothing is ever good enough. The food is cold. The weather is bad. The staff is rude. They're on vacation but act like they're stuck in purgatory. Are you having a good time? Not really. I had a better time on my other. Not and the entertainment's all right, but I saw better on, you know, negative Nancy, nothing's good. Are you that person? No, I know you're not. I know you're not. You're the cool people. The cool people are on this channel tonight. The cool people hang out here. You're not these people. All right, the next one is the PDA couple. They're in love. They're in love and they want everyone to know, from hot tub makeouts to hallway cuddles. They turn the ship into their personal honeymoon suite. Oh, who wants to see that? None of us. Yeah. The next one is the overpacker. Guilty. The overpacker, dragging 3 suitcases for a 5-day cruise. They clog hallways and elevators with their mobile closets. Bonus, they'll ask you to help lift it. On this last cruise that I went on, I was struggling, and I had my carry-on and my backpack. And then I have my case with all of my vlogging equipment, and I was trying to get the right, look and get the camera together, and my shoulder, it kept falling off my shoulder, and I was like dragging and trying to keep up. And this one person, and I found out later that he has his own travel agency and his own YouTube channel, but he says, "Girl, let me help you. I see you're struggling." I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not struggling at all. I pulled over to the side, got it all together. I'm a professional. It was me. Sorry. The unsupervised kids. We've already kind of talked about this one. The parents are MIA. Don't know where they are. And they're running wild, screaming in the hallways, splashing in the pool, and pressing every elevator button. Don't let your kids do this. Don't let them do it, because we don't like it. We don't like it. All right, let me tell you my next 2 cruise news stories. Port Miami is the busiest cruise port in the world. There was a recent poll about which is the busiest now and which will be the busiest in 2026. And the answer is still Port Miami. It's the busiest cruise port in the world. So if you're going there for a cruise, just keep that in mind. But I want to tell you about the 2 new cruise ships that will be coming to Port Miami in the 2025-2026 cruising season. 10 new ships, okay? It says here, Port Miami has announced the arrival of 10 new cruise ships. And in these 10 cruise ships, 5 of them are new build vessels. So that's exciting for us. All right. So starting in October of 2025, which is this month, so right now, a new roster of ships will set sail from Port Miami. We're talking about Cunard's Queen Elizabeth. So that's one. And we're talking about Virgin Voyages Brilliant Lady. Those are 2 coming right now. Okay, that's exciting. The company said in a press release that in November, so just a couple of weeks from now, Holland America's Zuridam and Celebrity Cruises Celebrity Excel, as well as Oceania's Cruises Allura, will make their debut. And then in December, so October, November, December, all the rest of this year, we've got new ones coming. The port welcomes MSC Cruises Grandiosa. So that's the end out this year, right? Then let's talk about the ships coming in 2026. In 2026, in January, they will welcome Windstar Cruises Star Seeker, which is also another luxury cruise brand. In February, they will have Holland America's Eurodam. In March, they will have Norwegian Cruise Lines, Norwegian Luna. And then in May, Silver Seas Cruises, Silver Nova, right? It says that the arrival of these ships is going to help strengthen economy, boost up tourism. It's going to bring a lot of economic growth into the area. Yeah. It's also going to bring lots and lots and lots of people into the area. So, they have to have it over there going like a well-oiled machine. Just imagine, it's the busiest cruise port. And I have to admit that they do have it going like a well-oiled machine. They have to. So if you were cruising out of the port of Miami, just pack some patience in that suitcase as well. And know that the rest of this year and next year, we're going to have some exciting new cruises coming. Do any of you have cruises scheduled for any of those ships? Or are you looking to book any of those? Yeah, that's exciting. I don't so far, but I really, really am looking forward to getting on Regent Seven Seas. Now this is Silver Seas. And we have to try Norwegian again. We tried Norwegian before and didn't really have a great time. But we always give cruising another chance because a bad cruise was still a great vacation. I'm telling you. So I definitely want to get on another Norwegian. But right now I don't have that booked and I don't have that penciled in, but things can always change. So if you have any of these cruises booked, yay for you. Let us know which one down in the comments below. Okay, let me finish out this list of the 13 people that we don't like seeing. There's only two more. The line cutter, he's number 12. They pretend not to see the line and casually slide in front of you. Whether it's for food, excursions, or disembarkation, they're always in a hurry. Oh, you must have somewhere to go, sweetie. Get from in front of me. You know, I think about why there aren't more fights on cruise ships when you talk about these kind of people, because they do flare you up so quick. You know, you're standing in the line and somebody just cuts in front. Well, no, you're no more special than I am, and you don't have any place to go quicker than I do. Just chill out, chill out. And then the final one is the seasick moaner. These are funny. I didn't give them the names. These are the names that AI helped come up with. They didn't take their meds and now they're groaning in every corner. You feel bad for them until they start complaining about this awful cruise. The seasick moaner. Seasick moaner. Yeah. So those are the 13 people that we do not like seeing on cruises, but you usually see them on every one. So you can take note. Next time you meet them, just smile. And next time that you are them, just smile. Just smile. Oh my goodness. I'm going to also give you these secret codes. And then I'm going to give you this final cruise news story about the child that was on the Disney cruise ship, what really went down. Yeah. Let me tell you about that. All right. So what is this hidden cruise ship codes and what they mean? Number one, if you hear alpha, 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 this is used to signal a medical emergency. You might hear this over the PA system, and then there might be some instructions like we heard it, and they're like, if anyone is a blood donor, please contact us, or, you know, alpha, alpha, alpha. The next one is bravo, bravo, bravo. This is the code for a fire on board. You never want to hear this one, but bravo is for a fire. Charlie, Charlie, Charlie indicates a security threat. This could be anything from a suspicious person to a more serious onboard incident, but just a security threat. Then we know about Oscar, Oscar, Oscar. We already talked about that. It's man overboard. Delta, Delta, Delta is damage to the ship, or it could be like a biohazard or pollution event. We have Echo, 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 signals that the ship is drifting, often due to like strong winds or anchor issues. We have Kilo, Kilo, Kilo. This means that all crew must report to their emergency stations. This is full alert, full alert. Code Mike, used on Oceania cruises, and this indicates a medical emergency, similar to what Alpha is. Code Adam, this is a heartbreaking but vital code. It's used when a child goes missing. Another one you never want to hear about. And this initiated from way back in the day, the Adam Walsh case. You know about that. Code 3030 is a maintenance alert. This is used when there's a mess or a hazard that needs to be cleaned, something spilled or something broken. That happened on our last cruise. I don't remember hearing that code, but I talked about it, the shattering of one of the glass light fixtures that just broke into all over just pieces. They had to get that cleaned up. Code Papa, used to indicate pollution or an oil spill. Code Victoria, used to discreetly signal, unfortunately, a death. Code Victoria. Code red, code black, code purple, all of those are medical emergencies, or that could be a fight, or it could even be a bomb. Okay. So, I have a whole video about that. Check it out if you want to know a little bit more about that. My last cruise news story for you tonight is about the child who fell off the Disney cruise ship. So, I'm going to read the headline to you. This is after months of investigation, because this happened back in June of this year. Okay. Mother's photo mishap led to child overboard on the Disney ship. Mother's photo mishap. Let me read it. The investigation into how a 5-year-old girl managed to fall overboard from the Disney Dream at the end of June is now complete. Official legal documents show that the mother had instructed her daughter to pose for a picture in an open porthole. You can't make this stuff up. Oh my gosh. Which she believed was closed. She believed was closed. No charges will be pressed against the mother and the case is closed, but all families can still learn from her mistake. Let me read some more. So this happened on the Disney Dream on the morning of June 29th during a 4-night Bahamas sailing. The 5-year-old girl fell 50 feet into the ocean from deck 4 on the cruise line ship, and then less than a minute later, the girl's father jumped overboard to save her, and he did. They treaded water for an hour, and then they were rescued by the cruise ship. Thank God. There was an investigation underway to find out exactly what happened. Now, early rumors blame the father, and I remember that the father was under like heat. They thought he had done something. But what really happened on that day is that the child's mother had encouraged her daughter to pose for a picture in front of the open porthole. It says here, per the authorities, she did not realize that the porthole was open. She assumed that there was like a window or plexiglass, and she thought that her daughter would be caught by the glass. But as we all know, that didn't happen. She just fell through. So after months of investigation, this is what happened, because I knew something happened. Something, you don't just fall off. Okay. So, she was looking for the perfect picture opportunity. And on a Disney cruise ship, there are plenty of picture opportunities. But, it's easy to look back hindsight and say, oh my gosh, you should never have done that. We all make mistakes. That could have been a tragic mistake. Thank God that the dad was able to save her. And, this has probably caused the worst undue harrowing tension and stress and discord. But you do learn. So, no. That's what happened. They were at first thinking of charges for her for neglect, but they said, based on the story and, she legitimately thought that wouldn't happen. Of course, that's how accidents happen. You don't think it would. And they're not going to level any charges against the mom. But there you have it. That's what happened. What are your thoughts on that? Did you kind of figure something weird or fishy was going on with that story? Or were you thinking, Disney, you've got to do better. You've got to make a better standard of your ship, And some of us might still be thinking that. You need to do something to make sure it's safer or better, or there shouldn't be that gap. And I don't do shipbuilding, so I don't know. I don't know about all that. I just know that we found out what happened. So this is a tale of caution. Right, for all of us, because things do happen. We can't let our guard down, and stay situationally aware. Right. That's all the stories I have for you tonight. I think. Let me make sure. Yeah, it is. I am so glad that you came and spent an hour with me. I really enjoyed having you here. I'm going to read your comments and give let you know what I think. It was so much fun. I will be back again next Tuesday. Tuesday night is our night, 7 p.m. Central, to come and have some fun, do some Q&A, give you some information, and I'm going to give you that cruise news. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great night, and I am going to catch you at the next adventure. Yes. All right. Good night, everybody.